That's right. That's right. It's time for the Strength Hammer podcast, episode 110. I really need better lighting still,
110.
but hey, Alex, you're looking
Yeah,
good.
thanks, man. These coffee shop lighting, it's a little flat, but at the
That's
right
fine. That's
spot.
fine.
Yeah,
That's fine. I saw on your Instagram post today of recording that you found a new photographer.
bro. I'm telling you, the lighting that day was phenomenal. The
Was
sun
there
was right above us.
any filters on that photo?
No.
Okay,
Oh
because
well, okay,
they
okay,
had
no,
like a
no.
blue, like a blue. There was like a
I
blue
I
filter.
think I think the photographer edited it, like, but
Oh, okay,
it
okay.
even when I saw it on the camera, I was like, holy crap, that's great lighting.
Where did she or him? I'm not sure who the photographer is. Where did they find pictures of my arms to transpose onto your arms? I mean, that's what I'm kidding.
Stupid, stupid. You
Listen,
have pretty nice arms.
I don't. Yeah, but I don't have the vascularity. Oh, my arms.
Yeah, it's the
Yeah,
vascularity. Yeah.
your vascularity is sick.
What people don't realize is arms look big not because they're big, but because they're defined.
Or because they're big.
Oh, because they're big.
I mean, but you have to get like Yeah.
Right, right, right. Fair.
You just gotta get a
But on
pump.
picture, at least on pictures, at least on pictures. I think in real life, you can tell somebody, wow, that's a big arm. He's a pretty strong dude.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
But with the right angle, somebody could not have a huge arm, but they have good vascularity and lighting, and then you're like, holy crap, you
Yeah,
have huge arms.
exactly, exactly. Do you
Yeah.
are you on full on influencer now, where you carry around like bands? So like right before anyone takes a picture, you like pull it out and you do some quick bicep
No,
curls. You're
no,
not there
no.
yet.
But to be fair, that day we did like hike and climb rocks a
Yeah, so
lot. So
you're
I'd
moving
already
stuff.
had a little bit. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Well, listen,
It was surprisingly good lighting that day.
listen. Anytime I've been out on a hike and I see a big rock, I usually pick it up too. It's what you do.
Absolutely, it's what you do. It's what you do.
Hmm.
It's a masculine urge. Not saying only guys do it, but it's a very masculine urge to do.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, episode 110, Strength Hammer
Woo.
podcast. How's your lawn? We gotta get in
It's
there.
honestly, it's not eventful, not very exciting.
Yeah.
I've still not cut it because it hasn't grown a whole lot.
Well, it's raining too, so
That's true.
all
It might
those
grow a little more now.
yep, all those hurricanes down come up Louisiana and Florida. So, uh, good luck everybody down there. But hey, you know what? Um, that's fine. Everyone lives where they want to live. You guys chose the beach, you get hurricanes. I choose the mountains, and I get snow. So
That's very few hurricanes in western Pennsylvania.
right, it's really interesting because like so many friends, Warhammer and fitness friends all over like the world and country, but like the country
Hmm.
specifically, I'll get messages from my friend John down in Louisiana, and it's just like preparing for the worst, like all these terrible things, and like I see his post about him like trying to make sure that like he lives, and I'm like, oh, I guess I'm gonna get rain in like 4 days.
It's not gonna be a big deal. Go to a coffee shop, read a book,
Exactly. Oh,
enjoy.
it's gonna be cozy in a couple days. Good luck, John. Hope
Yeah,
you.
exactly, exactly. Like the funny thing is when rain comes here, I love it. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, I can just stay and read a book and drink my coffee.
Yep. Yep. Exactly.
And
Uh,
this rain comes, then you're like, I might die. I'm like, oof.
Yesterday it was raining pretty good when I was at the gym, and it was leg day, and I
Mm,
was on my next to last set for squats, which was the first movement of the day,
hmm.
and batteries on the headphone died. So like
Oh,
the rest of the day was just staring at the rain in between my sets, and like just my brain was like off. It was kind of nice
very
actually.
peaceful.
Yeah,
Very peaceful. Yeah, I love it. I love it.
nice. My lawn is doing well. I did cut it somewhat recently, and the rain's been
Hmm.
pretty good. So, but yeah, kind of uneventful. Um, Also, I gotta figure out what we're gonna talk about on lawn talk when it starts snowing.
Yeah, it's probably shoveling
I
talk.
guess. I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
If anyone who's listening cares about this lawn talk as much as we do, which you apparently do, um, let us know what you'd like for winter talk when it's snowy and cold and we're not cutting the grass.
Yeah, because I guess when it snows, we can always shovel talk, right?
We
'Cause
could shovel talk.
you gotta clean it up. But sometimes it just doesn't snow, and then what do we talk about then? Hmm.
We'll see. We'll figure it out. Maybe
We'll
trying
figure it
different
out.
coffees or something. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah.
We'll mix it up as
Something not Warhammer fitness related, because that's certainly not why people are here.
why would I do that, Alex? We
No,
don't
that's
need.
just
There's too much of that in this
stupid.
podcast already.
Uh,
So, Alex, today, um,
yes,
this is the coolest episode of the Strength Hammer podcast that ever happened because we're just talking about what is cool
so
with a
cool.
few of our things. So, this obviously being the fitness portion of the podcast, mostly fitness, a little bit of Warhammer, a lot of lawn. Um, we're gonna go through.
This segment, you just described the segment perfectly. This is mostly lawn, some fitness, and very little Warhammer.
Yeah,
That's like my
that's.
life in a nutshell.
Oh man,
Oh,
being an adult, it's fun.
I know, right?
So Alex and I are gonna go back and forth. We're gonna list our top three things of what makes being strong, being fit, or just fitness in general cool.
Yeah,
Yeah. So,
I love it.
Alex, do you have your first thing? Do you ready? You want to kick us off?
Absolutely, man. The
Okay.
confidence.
I love it.
The
I
confidence.
love it.
The confidence is, if you are strong and you are fit, you go through in life with your chest raised high, with your back straight, and there's just an air of confidence about you. When I talk to people who work out, they are more confident people in general,
Mm-hmm.
right? They're more. I don't want to say successful necessarily, but there's an air of confidence about them. Now, sometimes you can take it too far, and somebody becomes a little douchey, and you have a superiority complex.
Mm-hmm.
But most people I interact with who improve their health and fitness, and they come from a place where they weren't healthy and fit, and they become more healthy and fit and strong, the confidence, the air about them, their approach to life and life's challenges is different.
Yeah, and it's so true because I mean the motto that the iron never lies is so true because
Hmm.
sure, yeah, I can pick up this weight, but there's weight I can't pick up, and sometimes the weight you can't pick up, you can't pick up, and like that weight doesn't care. So but you build the confidence by learning to discipline yourself and pick up that weight. So yeah, I love that. Confidence is such a
Absolutely.
good one.
Right on.
My
How
number
about
one,
you?
my number one is honestly just quality of life. Just that,
Mm.
it's probably the coolest part I've found from this because it's I guess this could be kind of maybe cheating because like it encompasses sort of everything. Like you walk
Right,
like I
right,
said, you
right.
walk around more confident. You feel more comfortable in what you can do. Like like my my body awareness improved greatly whenever I started learning all the mind muscle connections and learning how my body moves and all this stuff.
Hmm.
But quality of life, like I want to get stronger, I want to be fit, so I'm going to improve my sleep, improve my eating, improve my movement, and all those things just feed back into itself. That I always feel well rested now. I always feel capable of getting through my
Hmm.
day, and it's just like that overall quality of life is like just the coolest aspect to me. And like I said, you can go too far, like it like even with it, like where the quality of life becomes bad. So like, but usually that's temporary things. Like people, bodybuilders, like during the end, it's not going to be high quality of
Sure,
life, but you're
sure.
pushing for a goal. So but like just general
That's
fitness.
different. That's sport, right?
Yeah,
That's a
that's
little
true. That's
different.
a good way to do it. Yeah. So yeah,
Yeah.
quality of life is my number one.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, that is so true, and I think you are right. It does kind of encompass a lot of things. So I think we'll probably be more specific.
Yeah.
Well, at least be more specific with a couple other ones. Um, but you are so right. When you do it right, when you don't just use it as purely medication to numb the pain away, right?
Yeah.
Uh, when you actually improve your health and fitness, it definitely improves your quality of life.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, right on. Okay, so I would say I have two more that I'm thinking. I wonder which one I should put first. I'll put this one next. It goes off of what you were saying, kind of. So I would say I was talking with a client earlier. It bleeds into other areas of life you wouldn't think it would.
Mm-hmm.
For example, I was talking with a client earlier. I don't think he would mind me sharing about him. I'm not going to share his name, but I'm going to share who he is. So he is in UK Air Force, and over the last 2 years of us working together, his the view of his superiors of him changed from a guy who's not very fit, who doesn't take his health very seriously, to a guy who is strong and confident, and he shows up and he's reliable, and
Mm-hmm.
he can lead people well. And now he's in a position where he's leading. He has a lot of people under him, right?
Nice. That's awesome.
And it's not something you would think about, right? He's positioned in authority and leadership, and he's had, I think, since the last 2 years, he's had two or three um, times where he advanced his position of leadership within the Air Force,
Mm-hmm.
right?
That's amazing.
Which is
Yeah,
super
yeah.
cool,
Shout out to
right?
him. That's crazy cool.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, shout out to him. Great guy. I'm not going to say his name for
Right,
the
right,
sake
right.
of
Yeah.
he might not want to be his name shared, but it's very cool how just taking care of his health and fitness and the air that changed around him. And the coolest thing now is now he's helping other people that are under him to actually be healthier and fitter.
Yeah. That's this isn't my choice, but like that's a little side thing that's so cool is as you get better at health and fitness, like obviously you can take it to like you do it as professional, but like I don't do it as a professional thing, but people have
Hmm.
asked me, hey, how do I improve this? How do I improve this? And it's just like I have the knowledge and it's fun to pass on. That's cool too, that as you grow inside of like your health and fitness and strength is you can help other people. Whether it's
Absolutely.
professionally or just like, as hey, like here's some tips, here's where I looked it up, go for it type stuff. So
Yeah. But yeah, it absolutely bleeds into other areas of life.
mm-hmm.
Can't tell you how many times, and what you said is so right. How many times when I work with somebody and then they start encouraging their partner or their
Yep.
kids or their parents or their
Well,
coworkers to improve their health and fitness.
well, like just how you said bleeding life too. Like that's kind of one of the reasons I did this because I'm like, oh, there's if you're disciplined to work out, you're disciplined to get your hobby done.
Exactly. Well,
Usually,
theoretically.
you can be. It's the same mentality. Like, and it's
Right,
just like
right,
it's
right.
like, oh, that mentality is just life, positivity
Right.
in life to get stuff done, even if you don't
Absolutely.
want to. So,
Absolutely.
my number two is it's kind of fun this because as I've grown physically, I guess over the past decade or so, like actually putting on masks and all that, um, having friends who see me as reliable,
Mm.
for the fact in physicality,
Oh,
like
okay. I
you
see
know,
that.
like I good friend clubmate Quentin, he just picked up a new safe for his house, new gun safe, which and I get something like sometimes if you have like bad thing like like bad joints, bad this, like that's not against you, but like
Hmm.
I'm Quentin also works out too. Like he works out very hard.
Yeah.
But
He's a good looking dude.
yeah, he is handsome as hell. But it's we need to move a 400-pound safe. He reached out to everybody, like all of our friends. We're gonna help as we can, but it was me and him moving the safe because like I'm like he wants me there because I can lift half that safe without issue with him, and vice
Right.
versa. And then other friends are just like, oh hey Chuck, can you help me move this while you're here real quick, or
Yeah.
like even to like I, I'm not sure if you've noticed this, Alex, but like walking if you're walking around with a group of people, um, being the bigger guy in the group, like if I'm like I tend to end up being the one who's walking first because people will give you the space because they see you're bigger. Like, does that make sense?
Okay.
So like, even like
Yeah, I could see that
walking
sometimes.
around with a
Yeah.
group of friends, like I just end up maybe walking in the lead, especially if you know where you're going, but like just
Hmm.
because hey, put the big strong guy out first because that way you feel safer, like that subconscious thing. I've noticed
I see
that. I've
what you
not really
mean.
called any
Yeah.
friends out on that, but it's just like it
That's
feels
actually a
good.
good point. Yeah, usually the big buff guy is not the back, right?
No,
He's
yeah,
usually, and I think it's also part of his personality.
that's true. Yeah,
People who take care of their health probably are people who are maybe in more positions of leadership.
but it's just
Um,
it's just nice where people look at a strong fit person like you are reliable in a lot of ways, even if it's a subconscious type thing. That's really cool to me. So
Bro, you know what? I
it's
think
hard
we
to
should,
say that without I don't want to sound cocky because it's
without
just like
sounding like, oh, look at me.
yeah.
But I get that. But I think, the reality is to build your body, to fill out your body takes a lot of work,
Mm-hmm.
right? Putting on muscle is not an easy process. Your body does not naturally want to put on muscle very easily. So the fact is that you're stuck to it and you're consistently getting bigger, more muscular, and stronger. People probably see it and like, oh, I can do that. This person can. There's something different about them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I think it's very valid. Yeah, good.
What's your last one?
My third one, I think I'm gonna add a bonus one at the end.
Okay, sure.
But
Yeah.
my third one is the addition to me will add the last one. But my third one is kind of shallow, but you can eat more.
You can.
You can eat more. If you put on 20, let's say for your 5 years of fitness journey, you put on 20, 30, 40 pounds of muscle, your maintenance goes up.
Yep.
Even if you lose a bunch of fat, even if you lose a lot of fat doesn't burn that many extra calories. Muscle and the process of putting on muscle and muscle itself does, right? So the reality is, Chuck, you and I are eating more calories now to maintain our physiques than we did when we started our journey.
Oh my goodness, yes.
right?
Yeah,
So you can
I
eat more. You can
yeah.
enjoy things more.
And there's still times where I'm just like, man, I'm hungry. Like, am I hungry?
Yeah, and you
Like
need
I
to maintain that mass.
yeah, exactly.
So
Hey,
I mean,
that's
just
that's a fun
simple.
one actually. Yeah.
It is a cool one. Like, oh yeah, that's because like somebody who maintains calories at 3,000 calories a day, like close to you and I,
Hmm.
can eat a slice of cheesecake that's 500 calories, and it's not going to be a big deal. Versus somebody who maintains at 1,800, and to them it's a third of their calories,
Well, I will say this.
almost.
You can look forward to this as you get older with that cheesecake example. Could I eat that? Yes. That sugar would make me crash so hard. At
Sure, sure, sure.
being late 40s, I've noticed like sugar, like and I still have that sweet tooth, like me and you, we have
Yeah,
a sweet
yeah,
tooth.
yeah, yeah.
We could eat the same thing, and I'd be like, I need a nap.
Right, right. But I mean, in the sense of relatively speaking,
Yes. Oh
it's
yeah,
not
yeah,
going to
yeah.
impact your health
Oh yeah.
as negatively as somebody who maintains at lower
I
calories. So
yeah.
it's very cool to be able to eat more.
Well, yeah, because it's like I mean, my favorite holiday is Thanksgiving,
Hmm.
and it's all about food and being thankful. And like so, I know every time, like we always put out messages like, just go eat, just go eat. It doesn't matter. It's one day.
Enjoy it. It's one
This
day. Enjoy it.
especially too if you're consistent. Like I think Arnold just did it because he's over in Oktoberfest in Munich.
Mm,
And he put on his Arnold's Pump Club. Go check that out. It's a free daily email almost. And he's like, yeah, like the reason we do all this all throughout the time is not so we can limit ourselves when it's time to have a celebration. So he's
exactly.
like, I'm healthy and fit, and I do all this stuff. Yeah, and he's like, I go into Oktoberfest. I'm going to have beers, and I'm going to eat sausage and cheese and whatever. And it's like, yeah, you should.
Heck yeah.
So it's
Enjoy
true.
it.
Exactly.
Right on.
My third one, I had it in my head and it just popped away. Oh my goodness.
Oh no.
What? Oh, because I was thinking about Arnold, and he's so handsome. He's so
He. Oh my goodness. I was just thinking about the Arnold Classic, and I can't wait. Or Arnold Expo, and I can't wait to.
oh yeah, we need to talk.
Hopefully this year.
We need to talk about that. Uh,
Yeah.
um, oh my God, it's really just blanked on me. What is it? Oh, yeah, here it is. Sorry, it's back. Um, I'm not gonna be like just like oh the community, not the community. No, but anytime I've gone to any gym,
Hmm.
I immediately have this connection with other people at the gym.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's there's I don't want to call them cliques, but like there's sections. Like there's people that
Sure.
focus on cardio. There's people that
Sure.
focus on like bodybuilding, be on machines, and then like I'm usually in the free weight section because I want to do barbell movements and that sort of stuff.
Sure.
That's like and like there's a blend. Everyone blends in, but uh whether I've been in there with somebody and like I know like what's up big dog, like I know people that I see 4 to 5 times a week,
Right.
you know, we're working out at the same time. They've spotted me, I've spotted them. I don't know who the hell their name is. I don't know what they
Right.
do in life. All that matters is you're here and you're also getting strong. So that
Right.
respect is just like there's a higher level, ground level of respect
Yeah.
when you're at the gym with people. And like it's like I said, it's I've never had a political argument at the gym. I've never had someone want to gossip at the gym. It's like the gym
Right.
is there for the gym, and like that's what's cool
Right.
about it is people go there and it's just for that and maybe catching up saying hi, but like and anyone in that gym being newer to it or more veteran to it, there's like that. There's respect because you're there.
Hmm.
Doesn't matter where you're at on that journey. There's respect, and like that's just a cool thing to walk into any gym and feel that. Because like we've been to Planet Fitness, and that it's a different type of culture from the pros gym that we went to for Columbus
Community is
last
not
year.
there. Community is not there.
Yeah,
Planet Fitness is a perfectly great gym to
yeah,
build muscle mass. It is. I 100% believe that.
yeah,
If you're powerlifting, stupid. But to build muscle
yeah,
mass, perfectly great gym, honestly. But it's not a great gym for community, and it's not a good gym for pure strength.
yeah. Like I said when we went to the pros gym, even though it was just tons and tons and tons and
Oh my
tons of people,
goodness.
all for the
Yeah,
Arnold, I felt more welcome there than I have in like lots of other random places I've been to. It was just that was just
absolutely.
it's just that culture. I guess
100%.
I should say it's the culture's cool. There we go.
Yeah.
But anyway,
Everybody needs community, and gym is one of the best ones out there.
yeah.
Yeah.
But what's your bonus?
Yes. The bonus one is the dietitian in me is the cool thing is you'll probably live longer and you'll probably be healthier. Purely statistically, your cancer risk is down, your diabetes risk is down,
Yep.
your cardiovascular disease risk is down, and you'll have probably better quality of life, longevity, all those things. Purely numbers, purely studies, all of those risks are improved,
Mm-hmm.
or our risks are lower if you take care of your health and fitness.
Yeah. Live long. Live long and
Yeah,
yeah,
live long and well.
yes. Like I said, and that was our. I mean, we could probably talk forever about what's cool about
There's
fitness.
more.
Yeah, there's so much more, and like we've
There's
missed
way
stuff.
more.
And as we dive in, it's like, and it all becomes like the soup of everything's connected too.
Right, right.
Um, kind of to like my first one, which is like I'm lazy. I'm choosing everything.
Exactly. Quality of
um,
life is better. You're not wrong.
yeah, it's good, but that'll do it for our top 3 to 4 to 5ish of what's cool for fitness in our minds, at
Yeah.
least as far as the morning of September 26th, 2024.
There's more. There's definitely
There
more.
is. And if you are listening, let us know what you think is cool about fitness. Just put it in the comments below, like and subscribe. Because
Yeah.
if you don't
I
like and
mean, we
subscribe,
didn't.
we're ending this podcast. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Like we didn't even mention mental health, right?
Yeah, like discipline. How discipline, how much
Discipline,
discipline is
right?
freedom. How, oh my God, it's,
There's
yeah.
there's the list goes on and on and on. We could be here for an hour just thinking about and feeding off each other's ideas. What's actually cool and beneficial about health and
Mm-hmm.
fitness. You should just do it. If you're not doing it, do it. And if you're doing it, keep going.
Exactly. You got this, no matter where you're at.
Excellent.
All right, well, let's wrap up the mostly lawn fitness Warhammer segment. Let's do the smallest portion of it.
Yep.
Any hobby
You
right
know it
now?
is.
Any hobby right now?
No. I
You
cleaned up my hobby room.
that
I
counts.
cleaned out my I
That
cleaned out my
counts.
hobby room. I organized my hobby room. I removed some of the I removed the couch from the hobby room. I put a couple new shelves in. I organized some of my stuff that was laying around. So that is my hobby. But yeah, life has been quite busy. It's an excuse, I understand,
Mm-hmm,
but
mm-hmm.
there are other priorities in life right now, and hobby just does not quite fit in.
That's fine. Perfectly fine.
Yeah,
What is on your hobby desk when you have the time, you dive back in? What's the thing you're going to be painting? I'm curious about that.
Zombicide minis.
Okay, still on the Zombicide.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
yeah. My goal is to at least get them done before our next Zombicide night, which is happening in 2 weeks.
Okay, there you go.
So
You got
hopefully,
it. You got it.
yeah. Thank you.
Um, I'll talk more about it with Neil because it's going to be part of this segment of what's cool in Warhammer.
Sure.
But I'm excited because I finished my Bretonian army.
Yes,
So,
you did.
yep. So if you are watching the Tale of Four Warlords, while that series doesn't conclude until November, I am done because I was tired of waiting to get it done.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
We'll talk more about there, but I'm just excited and I wanted to talk about it because it's fun.
Yeah,
Um,
very good. It's a cool army.
it is. I'm super thrilled with the way it turned out. But with all that, we'll have to bid Alex adieu. So Alex, we will see you next week, assuming nothing pops up and we can't record.
Yep. Playing.
um,
See you next week.
yep, sounds good. All right, everybody,
Very good,
I'll
guys.
see you on the other side with Neil.
Stay Space Marine strong.
Yeah. All right, then we are here with that. Neil, how you
Chuck.
doing, buddy?
Dude, I'm great. I'm great.
That's
Got a
good.
lot of hobby in recently, so I'm feeling the flow, the Warhammer flow here, the vibes.
I was concerned because, like, I know you're looking to sell your Stormcast potentially. I don't know if that's still on the table, but I was making sure you're still feeling good. And I get sung an army you don't use and it's unpainted. I get that, but I was just like, oh,
Yeah.
is he going through one of those funks again? Do I need to?
No, actually, it's not that. I'm just looking at them, right? And I've only got so much shelf space, and I like to display my armies and everything. And I've been printerless for a long time, and I'm looking at those Stormcast, and I'm thinking to myself, God, there's so many old world armies I'm gonna print and paint before I ever even touch this stuff. Right now, AOS is not exciting me currently. Right. And so I'm like, you know what, it might be time to move these guys, and then I get myself a nice printer, and just fill that up with a nice dark elf army instead.
Ooh, that's pretty nice.
It's really lingering on my mind right now. So that's going to be the next one up, I think. So which is hilarious because when I first got into AOS, the two armies that I owned before, like as AOS was having, was high elves and dark elves, and right. And now
dark elves are over here. High elves are over.
We're going back. I'm going backwards, and so many things. I'm going backwards in my life. So.
Oh no, that's good. I was curious because like you wrote this whole, which we'll have to cover on its own. Like once you have it kind of set and finalized, you wrote it yet again. You wrote another map campaign, but for Old World.
I have a lot more faith in this one, by the way. I think this one because there's no excuse, right? So we can talk about that another day.
Yeah, that'll be. It'll be in the next couple episodes. We have a few things we want to talk, but today's gonna be a casual episode. Before we even get into that, almost forgot the most important thing here, Neil. How's your lawn?
Dude, it's a disaster. Last time we talked, I had told you I hadn't cut it in a while.
Mm-hmm.
I still have not cut it. And because it wasn't raining at all. I don't know if you know about Ohio, but we've been in a drought. We've been on a drought for a while. And the further south you go, the worse it is. And so I just haven't needed to cut it really. And then all of a sudden it just decided to rain 5 days in a row. So like I can't actually mow the lawn now.
Yeah, because
and
it's too wet. Yeah.
Tomorrow I'm taking the kids right after school. We're heading up to Cedar Point, going to ride some roller coasters, which it may rain while we're trying to do that. And then we're supposed to go camping for maybe what's the last time in our camper this weekend. And so can't cut the grass then either. Probably going to get a strongly worded letter from my HOA at any moment. So
That's fine. Listen, you have a young child. He needs to earn $20. Let him suffer through it.
Right. Yeah. He'd cut his foot off if I tried to get him to do that. Yeah.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, it's weird that you say you're in a drought because over here we haven't been in a drought. We needed rain, but it wasn't like a drought. And now, yeah, like everybody up north's getting rain. So I was laughing earlier with Alex. So welcome back, viewers who watched past the fitness segment. That I have a friend John down in Louisiana. He's one of the AOS judges, and like he'll post tweets to let us know he's safe from all these hurricanes and he's not dead. And I see them, and my first instinct is, oh, I'm gonna get some rain in a few days. Not, are you okay? It's just like, it's like, oh, it's gonna rain. It's gonna be cozy. It's gonna be nice. I can't wait.
That's funny.
Oh man, did you get any hobbying lately?
I have
Wink, wink,
done a
nudge,
ton of
nudge.
hobby. Like I said,
Yeah.
I have I remade a whole nother map campaign. This one is going to be for the old world.
Yes.
And I found it's been a lot easier to make one to like play around with components of list building with the old world than it is with AOS. Even in the, even in last edition, I think just the way list setup is and everything with old world with the percentages and stuff like that. There's just a lot more you can tweak. There's more levers to pull.
Yeah, I still feel there's a little bit more freedom, even though there's more restriction inside the old world list building for expression. Yeah. I don't know why I feel that, but anyway, yeah.
And you can loosen the restrictions too if you're doing something narrative, right? Which opens up a lot. Could break things. Who knows? We're gonna have fun with it, right? So, so I did that. That took I don't know. I guess the last 2 weeks I've been playing around with that. It is pretty finalized at this point.
Okay,
for what I want to start out with. And then I think what we may do here is we might play a couple weeks and just see, is it a complete train wreck? Is it not? And if it's not, then we'll make some tweaks if we need to and keep right on going.
It's not like there's a lack of maps around all of our gaming areas thanks to you guys out there. So
Right. So hopefully you guys, whether you use Matt's system or mine, hopefully you guys take a look at it, and if it's interesting to you give it a shot too.
Yeah, I was waiting because I gave it like a quick glance when I saw like you going through it with Matt in a lot more detail. I didn't watch your 18-minute video that you randomly put on like your private YouTube. I was waiting for the finalized to kind of like take the time to get in because work's been busier. So like during the day, I didn't have time to sit there and read it, unfortunately. So I was waiting for you to tell me it's mostly finalized. So now I will take the time and read it probably later tonight before bed or sometime this weekend for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I wanted to get something out there. Like I made that video because I knew half people wouldn't read it. And if they didn't read it, or if they did read it, I wanted them to know why I made some of the choices I made.
Yeah.
So just to know, like, why didn't you do this instead? Well, here's why. So this is what didn't work last time. This is what I hope works this time. So, but yeah, so we did that, and then if you look behind me.
Yeah.
There's a new unit of Shadow Wars. Look at that guy right there. Look how pretty
it is. Looks so good.
So we'll talk about this more during Tale 4 Warlords if for anybody who's watching that. But these are the same models that I did a couple months back, and they've turned out much better.
Yeah.
So much better that I'm not even afraid to have them behind me. Zoomed in-ish, right behind my head here. So.
Yep. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, for me, I've been. Is that all your hobby? I don't want to step on your toes. We got more to talk about.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, that's. I think that's it. Mm-hmm.
Okay, all right. My hobby. Well, I finished my Bretonian army. 100% done. So I'm 2 months ahead right now on Tale 4 Wars. But my next month commitment was pretty large, and I got it done very quickly. So I had one model left. I'm like, I'm just gonna paint it, because last night at the barn, the usual club spot, we were doing just a big mega battle. And you brought up a good point that I should take more pictures because that's a fun thing to talk about on a podcast where I do content. And I'm like,
Right.
oh yeah, I guess that would make sense. Next time for sure.
Yeah.
Uh, actually, go check out on Facebook Evil Bob's painting server, Evil Bob's Miniatures. He was there. He was one of the participants. He takes better pictures and he put it on Facebook. So check that out. But yeah, so it was. I had probably around 22 to 2,400 points of Bretonians as my full army. And I was like, I'm just putting it all down. I just wasn't using some of the units, so I was around 2,000 points of actual use. I just wanted to field it all to make it look cool. Then we had Bob, Evil Bob. He was playing his I think it's fifth edition Empire army. Like it is, like when he built it, it's classic.
It is classic, and he's got the old steam tank, with the dragon head with the cannon coming out of it. That's how you know that's an original beast right there. Yeah, I spotted that immediately.
Oh yeah. It's all and like he bought that new. That's that's his army from back then. He didn't buy it recently and repaint it. Like that's just what he's had. And then friend Mark, he had his Bretonians on the other end. And then the opposite of us, there was Jake, who's a new initiate into the club right now. This was his first old world game, so he borrowed just a bunch of orcs and goblins. He plays lots of war games, so it wasn't like a hard pickup for him. And then Brad, who was playing Beast of Chaos for Old World. So about 6,000 versus 6,000 points. And like just like anytime anyone does a mega game, like it's always the question, like, oh, how long did that take? Did you get? I'm like, no, you're missing the point. All right, you put down all your armies on this, and you look at it and you go, damn, this is cool.
Yeah.
And then it doesn't matter how far you get. Who cares? We played, I think, 3 rounds. I was controlling this flank. Some opposite was controlling this flank. So we were just kind of doing this, and we weren't going to get anywhere anytime soon. So we they literally looked over and said, do you guys feel good with where you're at? I'm like, yeah, I feel like I had a good time. We were all happy, shook hands, called it a night. You know, like we had some drinks, had some food, played some Warhammer, and just chatted. It was a good time.
Oh God, you're like, it's so refreshing. Say it slower. Oh my God, Warhammer, the way, in my personal opinion, the way Warhammer's supposed to be done.
It was, and it was so funny because poor Jake over there, like he's doing everything fine. Like he failed every single leadership with between 10 and 12, like, and he was just running off the board. I'm like, it wasn't even like a fight to clear that flank. I killed a few things and charged 1 or 2 things, and he just ran away. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, his night was over early. He was watching some Taylor Swift videos.
Actually, I didn't get to control the music this time, so Megadeth was on. It actually was real funny because it's like someone on Twitter. It's like, is that Megadeth in the background? I'm like, I don't know. I don't listen to Megadeth, so. I think at some time I looked at the TV and the background said Megadeth, so probably. But yeah, Warhammer was good. It was great to field the whole army. I actually was trying to get it done. I'll put it up later tonight. So if you're on, if wherever you're watching this now, if you go to my Instagram or Twitter, I'll probably have full pictures of my army just because it's cool. And now I'm working on dwarfs. That's because no one commented on whether I should do the Chimera or the dwarves. Thank you, listeners, for letting me down. I'm calling you out, listeners.
Kai, let me see it again. I didn't see this.
Oh, the Chimera?
Oh, you're just classic Chimera there.
Yeah,
okay,
I had a fair set of dwarves. I have 2 to 3 of the carts. I might gift the cart to another friend because it was gifted. 2 of them were gifted to me for the mining cart. So I have a Bugman's cart, a pony cart, standard, couple lords and thanes, Ungrim. So it was either that or do this bad boy. And this is a one-off. And I'm not playing Chaos Warriors, but I remember back in the day when Storm of Chaos was coming out.
Oh yeah.
So I was too young and poor at the time to buy supplements like that. But the White Dwarf, I was all into that White Dwarf for it. And I remember it's like, oh, you could like control a Chimera, and the paint jobs in there were just blowing me away.
Oh yeah.
So it's like when the Chaos stuff went up for I was buying the book and the cards just to have them. I saw the Chimera there, and I was like, you know what? Add the cart, get that free shipping, and just paint this bad boy up for fun. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, but it's a one-off model, so I'll do that, do this, and then after that, this. I
You
don't know.
probably have no idea how to paint those.
No idea. I've never painted an army in my life. Uh, um, yeah, I'm trying to think of anything else. No, that's it. That's it. But before we get, actually, no, what? Screw it. We're not gonna talk about. We're not gonna talk about the news yet. That'll come up organically. Because this was cool. This is a cool model,
Mm-hmm.
right? Neil, your paint job back there is cool. Mega game that you don't finish is cool. Map campaigns that you write because you like it are cool.
Mm-hmm.
So what else is cool?
Warhammer.
There you go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think
What
I don't
makes
know, if we're gonna
Warhammer
get
cool? Yeah, that's
if we're going to get into it, I think that you just kind of summarized it a little bit. But with this show is going to be about what makes Warhammer cool, right?
yeah.
And what makes it cool is all that kind of stuff. It's for me, it's like artistic expression, right? You know, if I don't know, you may not consider that art, right? But for me, it's, you know, and for anybody who paints, right? It's a right-brained, you know, artistic thing that you're doing. And now I don't always have the. A lot of people hate painting, right? I mean, Dave, you just talked to Dave.
Yeah.
A lot of people love it, right? Some people are in between. I'm one of those in between guys. Like I need to be feeling the juices, you know, to get into it. But once I sit down at the hobby desk, I mean, I love it. Like it's hard. Like at this point, it's kind of hard. Like once I start, like because I'm like, I'll do this one more thing, okay? Especially when you're batch painting, you're like, okay, well, I'll do all the metal. Okay, well, I got all the metal done. Boy, kind of tired, but you know, oh, this guy just needs this, right? And then before you know it, you did all 10 of them with that, and then you know, again, and then it's midnight, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, so there's just so much to the game, artistically, hobby wise. You know,
Even take steps back. If you listen to last week's show, listeners, or even you, Neil, we were talking about Space Marine. Like there was parts of it. Like a part I liked about Space Marine 2 is seeing the non-Warhammer invested people, seeing the weird shit in Warhammer, like cherubs and, I mean, just you name it, like just like like all that. That stuff's cool too. Like the level of investment and nicheness of it, and like the lore. Like there is just giant rats underneath the world that everyone says, oh, they don't actually exist, except for the lizard folk who live in a jungle, who do know they exist and they fight constantly, but no one knows those lizard people exist.
And
Like,
the longer you're in this hobby, the more things you're able to pick out that other people aren't. That doesn't necessarily mean like, oh, you know, like I'm some neckbeard that can, you know, whatever, but it's like it's just a neat thing. Like you get into the hobby and you start learning about it, right? And then, you know, before you know it, you've been in the hobby for 10 years and you know about things that other people don't know about. There's people who know about things that you haven't even, you know, seen, whether it's the lore, models, you know, all sorts of stuff. I mean, there is for you wargamers out there is a chaos ass cannon out there where a demon is shooting a cannon out of its ass. That exists. It is a thing. It was sold. Okay. All right. Somebody sold this model. You may have never heard of it. Okay. But that exists. Right?
Yep. Yep. Yeah. It's cool to just sit there and like just be surrounded within just like the hobby space. Cause like I said, there's the multiple avenues. Like you can focus on just the lore, like what's cool about the lore, which maybe this is how we should segment this. Like, what's cool about the lore, what's cool about the models, what's cool about the game. Maybe we'll do something like that. So let's start with models. It's probably the easiest one because it's like, what's cool about Warhammer models? And like we can pick anything. Like you can pick Horus Heresy, you can pick just what's cool about Warhammer models. What makes you go, damn, that's cool. I like that.
I think it's the variation in the different types of races and everything that you get, right? So, I mean, no matter what, whether it's fantasy, especially AOS, and then probably the least varied is probably 40K. Honestly, there's a lot of Space Marine factions out there, right? Which are fairly similar.
To be fair,
but
once we get into the lore, I could explain how those are very different, and that makes them super cool.
Sure. For me, they look very similar, right? But this is what I'm talking about.
Yeah, you're not a 40K guy, which is perfectly fine. Yeah, but like just for models, like so like okay, maybe a little less variance in 40K potentially.
Right. The detail that you get on some of these models, right? Some of the nostalgic models, so some of the ones that are campy and stupid, right? Wow, but there's a feel of the era, you know, that they were made in. So I can look at your buddy's Empire army, and that army has a feel to it that your army doesn't.
Right.
But that doesn't make your army worse than his. Your army just has a different era feel to it,
Yeah.
which takes me to a different place than his army does, which is perfectly fine. So I think that's a
Yeah.
cool thing about models through the generations too.
And how another cool part of that is you said the nostalgia. So as we're growing up, I mean, really at any age, and you have these models, and then maybe they disappear, they come back, but just being able to look at models, even if you didn't own them, that were in White Dwarf or in the hobby store, or other people played once or twice, to just go, wow, I have an attachment to this random thing that someone sculpted long ago.
Yeah.
It's just it's crazy to think about that we can get, like, I'm nostalgic over video games for sure. You are as well.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's
me too.
something
Definitely.
but like getting nostalgic over a story feels different than nostalgic over a thing. Actually, I was tonight as we're recording, it's my father's birthday, so went over to my parents' house for the birthday dinner, and went into the bathroom. And my mom is decorated for Halloween. She's an early, not like she's not. She lets the holiday come, but once that holiday's over, she'll decorate for the next one. So she doesn't surpass, but she she goes a little early. And I remember, like, there's these um little candles that are jack-o'-lanterns of different, like, ones are tall and skinny, one are short and squat, and they're just in the bathroom. And they're like, my brain was just like, boom, like, I remember these from, like, being a kid. Oh my god, these are like, I love these. I'm like, why? It's a candle that my mom has
Yeah.
never burned for 30 some years, and I was like, nostalgia for it, like.
Yeah.
But like, to do it for a model that's a game piece, and like, I know for you Neil, like, you could go back to your original army you had as a kid, whether you have it or not, and you could probably tell me this random infantry spear elf that looks like everyone else, but there's some small difference on it that you go, oh man, in this game, this is like the last survivor, and he held up this cool thing and like helped me win the game, and it's a piece of plastic.
Yeah.
But that's cool that you can attach so much emotion and like lore to a single model, like a personal lore.
Oh yeah. There's from back in the day, we're talking like 4th edition fantasy, right? There was spear elves. They're pewter. This is pewter metal models, right? And every high elf has gems on them, but the gems at one point, a lot of the gems were hearts.
Yep.
And I don't know if you remember this or not, but like this guy had, and like they had antlers coming out, like on some of the champions and stuff.
I have one of those, and he's painted as a wood elf because it was after my time when I found one. I thought it was a wood elf, so I painted it as a wood elf.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, it's cool stuff like that I'll see on models and everything. I'm like, oh yeah, that's great. That brings me right back. Yeah,
yeah, models are cool. I just love. I love seeing just how armies look on the table too. Like, that's the coolest part about the models. Like, that's why last night, like, I fielded my whole Bretonnian army. I didn't use any magic items. I didn't use half my models because I'm like, okay, it's not fair against what I'm up against. But it was so cool to see a whole army out on the table just looking ready for war.
Yeah, oh yeah, yeah.
That's
why we talk a lot about just setting up our armies and just looking at them, right?
There's a reason my daughter's cane are always on display. That's not for you or anyone else. That's for me.
Yeah. I can get lost sometimes. I'll come down. I'll mean to start painting, and I'll end up just kind of looking at my models. Before I know it, like 15, 20 minutes have gone by, as I'm just kind of staring at them, right, looking at different models that I painted up and everything. I mean, it really it really is part of the hobby. Is just looking at the cool shit that you did.
I actually, even last night, I was talking to Bob because we were next to each other while we were gaming, and like, we were all talking like how cool this looks. I was just like, Bob, did you ever have a bad day? Like, not a bad day, but like a stressful day, and you're just like, I need to unwind for a little bit. So you take an hour to yourself, you grab a beer, and you go down and you just look at your army. And he's just like, oh yeah, it's the best therapy we have as wargamers.
Right?
Just, yeah. Like, I have a stressful day, I need my brain to turn off, and I need to just look at something cool, like a Warhammer army that I painted myself.
Right. Something you completed too, I mean,
sense satisfaction.
If you completed it.
Yes.
which is always a question. I mean, I have a Tau army up there that still needs a bunch of like line troopers, fire warriors painted up. The whole rest of the army's done. I just haven't been able to bring myself to paint those yet. But when something excites me about 40K, I'll do it. But
that's fair.
Yeah, not until then.
Well, I'm glad that you haven't sold those. I know you're not a 40K like enthusiast. You enjoy it.
I do.
But like you like Tau, but I think it's good to have one army for most of the game systems, especially that are being played in your area.
Mm-hmm.
It's just
Yeah.
it's cool to like, even if it's unpainted, like you can go play it with somebody. No one's gonna fully care. Like you're not going to a tournament with it, but it's cool to just be like, oh, you want to play 40K? It's like, well, you have to teach me, but I'll put models down. Let's, my towel will go pew pew. I enjoy it. Let's have a good time.
Right. Mm-hmm. And there is something like, like I always wonder, like kids, like my kids and everything, they don't show much interest. My daughter a little bit, but my son, doesn't show much interest. He plays a ton of video games, and right, but there's something to me, and I love video games too, as you know, but there's something to me about holding that 3D, that it's a real thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's got no more value to it than anything in a video game, right? It's just a game piece, really. And one's virtual and one's not. But to hold the thing that you made with your own hands, like that's tangible, that's real. As soon as I hit the power button, the video game's not real anymore. Right? It's off. My computer gets old and I can't play that game anymore. It's gone, right? But this is always, these are always here to look at. Something that you did.
So no matter how old Neil gets, or how much his brain goes away, he can be happy in his basement staring at his models.
Right, that'll be me, like drooling into my Cheerios in the nursing home.
Like give him his high up on Griffin. He'll be happy.
Give him one guy. And so some nurse will come over, and I'm like, don't touch that.
It needs to be there.
Absolutely, that's talk about predicting the future.
Yeah, it's. I mean, yeah, it's like it's weird, like to be surrounded by this stuff and just be like, it's cool. Like, and it's like, and we just like, it's a weird thing because it's also collecting in its own style. But I to not get too lost or beat the dead horse, because I feel like we'll probably backtrack on the models being cool if we keep on that. What about just the game itself? Like, what makes
the game is probably the part of the hobby that I engage with the least.
I honestly think that's probably most people.
Mm-hmm.
Just because it's a big investment to put down models, unless you're doing like even still, even if you're doing a skirmish game like Kill Team or Warcry, you have to set up a time to go to some place to play with somebody, or hey, you have to come over and you host them. So it's an investment of time to play this game.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, like Carl and I were talking, he's just like, if I don't have a full day to play, like he's like, I ain't driving up to your house unless I'm playing for a full day. Like I'm not coming up here for one game. But yeah, absolutely. For me, again, like playing the game is about extrapolating what goes on in my imagination about, like what I put into the army and how I feel like the army should work, and hoping to see something similar happen on the battlefield, right? And so I don't know. I don't know if it, like, sometimes rules wise it doesn't always happen. Right?
Yeah,
I think that's where some frustration comes sometimes, is when the things that you feel like you think your toy should be able to do don't do the thing that you want them to do. Right?
Yeah, it's that ludo narrative dissonance that we get with our game systems. Granted, it really comes down game to game. Like, I feel Games Workshop has gotten better in some ways for it and worse in other ways. It's just the nature of the beast. But you're never going to read I'll read a Space Marine novel, especially a Horus Heresy novel, and I'm just like, damn, that's amazing. I want to start this army. But those 5 guys you read about that just soloed, this entire alien force, can't actually do that on the tabletop. Like, Titus is not gonna. You go get Captain Titus model. Guess what? He's not Gotrek in 40K. There's no Gotrek variant in 40K, even though like all the video game.
He's gonna take a Tau Fire Warrior, strike force to the face, right? He's out.
He's done. He's out. But yeah, like the game itself, like the spectacle of it, I think is what's enjoyable.
Right.
Especially when you get 2 painted armies on the table that both people are proud of, and
good terrain. Like the battlefield itself, it's the game itself is unlike anything else. You can't get it anywhere. You can't get it in a board game.
No.
It's just 100% different than everything. And I think that's why, like, sometimes like I'll have people come downstairs and see my Warhammer, like it's just somebody who's here to work on my furnace or something, right? He comes downstairs, the Warhammer table's off to the right. He's just like, what is that? Like, if you haven't seen it before, you don't know what it is. I mean, it stands out. It's not, if I had Risk on the table, nobody's saying anything about that. They're just going to work on the furnace, right?
Yeah.
But this pops out at you, and you're like, whoa, what the hell's going on there?
Actually, I had my neighbors on the one side of my house. They're actually selling their house, so um, they've been in and out a lot more. So I actually encountered them a lot in the past couple months because I've been taking pictures outside of my models because it's the best lighting in the world. Obviously, being outside. And they stopped. It's like, we keep seeing you take pictures of this. Like, what is this? And I started showing them. They're like, that's so cool. Like, I actually came around and they were looking at my models. So it was super super fun. Like, yeah, like if it was, I'm out there gardening, they're just like, how you doing? I'm like, good. They don't care about gardening.
Yeah,
They know
yeah.
what's up with that. It's not exciting. But like, what's this little guys you're talking about?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, why? Like, I'm out there like setting them up in the hot sun, taking
Right.
pictures quickly and putting them away quickly, and it's just like, oh
Watching them melt.
yeah,
My cat has found its way down here.
nah,
She's
fun.
my daughter's cat.
Ooh, can you catch her? Nope. Okay.
No, yeah. She'll go start knocking models off the top of that thing shortly, I'm sure.
That's fine. If Neil gets up suddenly, it's because he has to go save his models. That's perfectly fine.
Right. The old man in the nursing chasing a cat.
Give me back my models.
Mm-hmm.
The other, like, and you're right. Like, playing the game is the least probably invested part of the game, which is funny because there's so much put into that with rules and everything like that. So there's a lot that hinges on it. I just had a random, is that Firefly? Yeah, Firefly just landed. Okay, so I don't know how he got in here. We'll figure him out later. You do okay,
I will say too about playing the game. I think it's one-off games that are the. I don't get me wrong. I love like just picking up a pickup game and everything, but and I know this may just be me. This is just the way I like to play my toys, right? So take this with a grain of salt, I guess. But I feel like if you can get something behind the games,
mm-hmm.
then they tend to mean more, right? If there's some sort of narrative you're pushing, if there's some sort of like a campaign or something like that, then you're stringing games together, like that to me is engaging. Like now all I can think about is what I'm like playing the next game, right? Because it's filling in a story for me.
Well,
and that's where I'm getting the enjoyment. Not necessarily from, the games will happen and the games will go as they go, but it's building up my own personal narrative through something, which is what really attracts me to the game. Not necessarily just the pickup games.
Right. But that said, like, that's all very personal. Me and you share the same exact view on that, which is why we're here doing this podcast, which is also bad for, I guess, having to do devil's advocate because neither one of us wants to do it. But for the sake of that, seeing tournaments happen, because I am a TO for tournaments for Games Workshop, and I do other stuff for them too, but at the tournament space. But seeing high level play is really cool. I've done like high top table plays, and I'm bad at. I'm not bad. I've succeeded at it a few times, but it's stressful. But seeing two other like essentially masters playing the craft, even if they're playing armies that aren't exciting to me, seeing their skill set on display is cool. So tournaments can be very cool if that's what you like. If you like just high skill play and thought processes and how to ring out all the things like in a list building. Like, with it for Old World right now, I will list build left and right. I have fun with that. I'm about to fully go list building on my Bretonian armies now that it's all painted. Like, what do I actually want to play out of this? Like that, and I'm excited to do that.
Yeah.
So like list building is super cool. But like, yeah, if
look at those campaign rules.
I will. But I would say I don't want to leave out like tournament play, high level play is super cool. It's but you do have to figure out that, and it's cool that I'm friends with people that's what they love. But I like my thing. I can still play a game with them. Heck, they'll play a narrative game with me. They're not afraid of it. And it's cool that like that can be a shared connection between folks too. Just because Warhammer, like, I could be telling. I remember telling, some of the AOS Worlds Team America people, just telling them a game I was playing, but it was a narrative game. It was actually for the setup before NashCon to explain why I didn't have KO. I was telling them about that game and the setup and all this, and they're just like, that's really cool. And like they're just like hanging on like to like the story of it. Well, I'm talking like, I have the witch elves over here versus that, and of course their brains is like, oh well, the witch elves are gonna kill that if they have this buff, that buff, and like, but and then they would tell me about like some high level play and like these little nuanced things that my brain doesn't think of, but we understand it even though we're on different worlds within this world,
Hmm.
and that's another cool thing about Warhammer.
Absolutely. Yep.
So, do you have anything else on the game or list building that you think is cool?
I mean, like you said, I mean, list building is you have to have. What I don't, I'm going to give a little thing that I don't like is I like it when the system allows you to build lots of lists, right?
Yes.
So, and like I start to get a little bit more, poo pooey when I can't do that, or when I feel like I can't.
Right.
When I feel like there's one clear thing that the game is pushing me to do. I'm not afraid of running a suboptimal unit. Most people I know have played me know that.
Mm-hmm.
However, there is a point of diminishing returns where you're like, I want to at least give somebody else a game. And I want to feel like myself, like I'm pushing towards a goal. And
Right.
if I play this unit, I'm doing neither. And that's unfortunate. That's one thing, it's never going to, like, there's always going to be something better than something else. And that's fine.
Yeah.
But I just want to have to be able to build multiple lists that make sense narratively, or for, how I want to play.
But it's true too. Like I said, not to get poo poo. Like we're not going to really talk about the news, but yesterday, at the time of this recording, there was a balance update for Age of Sigmar,
Mhm.
which there was some stuff that was needed in there, and I glanced at what mattered to me, which was just points. Which points went down on Dollars Arcade, and I was surprised on some stuff. I was like, okay, I expected the average to come down. A few other things dropped. Like that's cool. And they fixed the shadow chamber thing, but it's like I don't really use that chamber, so it didn't affect me much. However, since I don't enjoy that list building, it's been 2 days and I've not even opened my Sigmar app to get the update to go, oh, well, how can I tweak my list now? Because it's not as engaging to me. Um, that said, if you're like, hey, Chuck, I need you to bring Terathi out. I need to have a battle with this. Then I'm back
Mhm.
in. You know
Mhm.
what I mean? Like, oh, we need to have
Yeah.
story. Let's go. Let's bring it out. But yeah, like it's even whenever there's a part like I don't enjoy list building in Sigmar, but if there was a game that we wanted to play or a narrative we're trying to tell, all of a sudden I'm in. That list building
Mhm.
is cool again because I'm able to think about it in a different way than just
Right.
building a list.
Right. Hmm. Absolutely.
So one of the last, I guess, major aspect to potentially hit here is lore, and this is a deep one. What makes
Hmm.
Warhammer cool in the lore? Tell you what, let's segment this a little bit more. Let's start with 40k, and then we'll go Sigmar, and then we'll go Old World or something like that. So Neil, to you, what makes 40k cool in the lore?
Well, it's easily the depth of it, right? I mean, when you first, like, hey Neil, there's this thing that I'm doing. You have to have 40K army, or you're not coming. And so,
Neil's like, okay, let's figure this out.
all right, well, okay, we'll make a 40K army here, and then I started listening to lore podcasts and things like that to know, even slightly what was going on. The depth of it
Mm-hmm.
is what's really incredible, and I hadn't even scratched the surface, and I think I had listened to hours upon hours of this podcast trying to catch up at least a little bit anyway. So I've got the basics down of what's going on in the universe, but that's what's kind of the coolest thing about the lore is the depth, right? It's one of the most flushed out universes. I mean, not just 40K, but a lot of them.
Yeah.
Um, that's out there. I mean, you think about like Warhammer's depth. You can think about Star Wars. I mean, honestly, like if you go and you go look at Star Wars lore, there's probably more Warhammer lore than there is Star Wars lore.
Oh,
I mean, if I'm being honest, like
be,
probably by a ton, right?
even if
I
you
mean,
include
once you
the
get
stuff
past,
that was retconned by Disney because they're dumb and can't do shit.
right? I mean, it's like, and I read a lot of the books and
Yeah.
everything, but like it all comes back to the movies, right? So there's not like a ton of depth.
Well, I think the best part about let's use a comparison of Star Wars. So to me, the macro and micro of 40k, just we'll start since that's the focus, is so extreme as like a slider to macro to micro because I can get stories about an entire solar system, like being corrupted by chaos, and then Space Marine chapter coming in to try and fight it back, or what have you, and then but then you can take that and you can narrow it down to the story of some ne'er-do-well. Yeah, go ahead. Some ne'er-do-well that's just on a space, not a space station, in a hive city on one of these planets before it even gets to them, doesn't know what's going on. And you can have a really interesting story set within the universe of 40K that's part of a grander scope. And it's just, and that whole intro that they used to have, in the vastness of the 41st millennium, there is only war, and if you die you won't be missed. I forget the exact phrasing of it, but like it's true. Like the micro scale, like you're following these stories are super interesting about these individual characters, but do they matter? Like the universe is going to keep going on no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
Not to mention, like I said, the Horus Heresy was taking over the entire galaxy, like of in flames. Like the other alien races were like, "Whoa, you guys need to calm down." And then they tried to manipulate it because they figured they could use it as a tool. Like they were using the biggest, most brutal civil war in human history within this series, and they're like, "Oh, how can we use this tool to defeat chaos?" Like it's just like it was nothing. And then even take the aspect of Tyranids. All right, everyone's like, "Oh, Tyranids, they're the bug race. Yeah, they stole from Starship Troopers. Who cares? I don't know which came first. Probably Starship Troopers. But do you know the story of how Tyranids found their way to our universe?
Aren't they in a separate galaxy or something?
They are they're a there's a hive mind attached to it, which is very similar to like StarCraft type thing.
Mm-hmm.
But these swarms of bugs hunt through the universe and have destroyed galaxies already. And they were not near us, but they were close enough to us. And then something happened. I think it was in the Horus Heresy. Sorry, 40K guys, if I get this wrong, but they turned on a beacon that like flashed like once or twice to do something, and one of the swarms saw it, and then they shifted course. Like, oh, there's sentient life in this galaxy. Let's go there and eat it. It's the most alien of alien things. The aliens in our galaxy feel normal and welcome compared to that which is just complete. Who knows what galaxy it came from?
Mm-hmm.
Who knows how endless it is?
Now, I heard something once upon a time that said, and stop me if I'm getting too deep into the weeds here, that said like the Tyranids could possibly even be running from something.
Yeah, I've heard that
Something
too.
worse.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's weird because, and like this is what's cool, because like these simple little things, and then okay, well, who would win in the end? It's like, well, it doesn't feel like any of the races can win except for maybe Tyranids because they truly feel endless,
Mm-hmm.
or chaos. But if the humans and the elves die out, and technically the Tau, I guess they're sentient, they're not really signatured in warp. But like I don't
Yeah,
know,
I don't know.
I don't
They
know.
don't have they don't have psychers.
No,
Ish.
yeah,
They have.
that's why I'm like I'm hesitant to say they're immune. But if all those races destroyed each other, or okay, well, chaos won't have a grasp, but also the Tyranids can't consume demons that are puffed back to the warp when they're dead.
Mhm.
So it's like, I guess orcs win. Let's call orcs win. Tyranids eat the orcs, makes a super race, and then they start. I don't know. Who knows? But
Yeah.
but you can't even think that far. Like we're already so far ahead.
Mhm.
But then you also like it's weird. Like so, you get those small stories that are meaningless. You get these huge galaxies or solar system half galaxy sized stories where you're like, I can't even comprehend. But then you get those middle grounds where it's a space marine, so you can imagine it, or a Primarch, which you can almost imagine
Mhm.
doing things that actually matter, that are just as exciting, and it's super weird. Like that's what
Yeah.
makes 40K cool. Like just that whole scope. Not to mention, Space Marines are cool. I think Space Marines are cool.
Listen, I love Space Marines actually.
Okay.
I my whole gripe with Space Marines is not that, and I understand that they're different, but that they're not very different on the tabletop, except for the color that I can see. That's my gripe. All right. So
It depends. I think right now, if you're playing a Dark Angel, Blood Elf, or Space Wolf, you're more likely to be a little bit more different than the other ones because they're the most different as far as
right.
some units. But generally, you're speaking the truth, unless unless
Yeah.
you're playing in a way that we play Old World and Sigmar. Like it, let's say you were a Salamander player. You want to lean into the Flamers and the story about saving humanity. Like that's what they are. Like they are potentially the good, actual good guys, you know?
Mm.
Um, and you get that on the table because like you it's really weird. Like I know very few people out there that have a Space Marine army and have a second Space Marine army. Usually you're just like I learned about Dark Angels first, so I attached to them hard, and I'm a loyalist, so I'm a Dark
Mhm.
Angel player. That's
Mhm.
what I have. That's what I collect. Do I think Space Wolves are cool? Yes. My favorite Horus Heresy book is a Space Wolf book, not a Dark Angel book. Do I think Sanguinius is probably the coolest Primarch I've ever seen? Yes. I would love to do Blood Angels, but I'm a Dark Angel player. So like you actually invest yourself into it on like a sports team, like
Mhm.
on a really high level. So like I've read almost all the Dark Angel stories. If you do that with any of the Space Marine chapters and you're playing games that you're like to fit the feel of what that chapter represents, you would be in on it. You go to a tournament and lose, but that's because you're not bringing the best thing. But like, oh, I'm playing the
Mhm.
stealthy army. Like I'm not bringing a tank, but you need a tank. You know what I mean? Like
Right,
it's
right, 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 right. Yeah.
so you can, but I think and the general Space Marine style, like, and there's so much stuff like Stormcast, you can actually build a list that fits the theme of your army with what's there, no issue.
Mhm.
And it's just you're not going to win a tournament with it. Probably pickup games might be rough too, but if you're playing a narrative game, all good. Space Marines are cool.
Yeah. Well, I like to shoot them, so
That's fair. Yeah, Tau's a good army. All right,
I
let,
like robots.
let's actually let's shift to Old World next, because Old World
Mhm.
bleeds into Age of Sigmar.
Mhm.
What makes the lore of Old World so cool? Because we just talked about how cool it was that we had this huge galaxy
Mhm.
to just play with. Let alone, we didn't even talk about the stuff that is hinted out outside the galaxy, other than they're running from something. But Old World, we have one planet.
Mhm.
It's a big planet. I think they said it's like what 4 times the size of Earth or something. I don't know how that works.
I don't know.
Who
Yeah,
cares? What makes that so cool though?
I think Old World is so they did a thing like Old World came first for Warhammer, right?
Yeah,
Like fantasy was first before any Space Marines were even thought of. It was Warhammer Fantasy, right? And when they originally were building it, they did the easy thing. And the easy thing was let's take planet Earth, let's change it a little bit,
make a few
and we'll
squiggles.
just right, and we'll make this race here this, and that race here that, and this country here that, and whatever. And so it's the world itself is relatable a
Okay,
little bit,
all right.
and it's almost like you could see like back in the day before they went AOS direction, you could almost see like the world ending right, like Uthuan, right, goes underneath the sea, right, and now you have planet Earth, right,
Yeah,
like the humans win, right, and there's no other races, right, so
sure.
it's just
Yeah,
like, and now here we are sitting talking about it, right, like that's almost what it kind of felt like a
it
little
was
bit.
a possibility because like you have the endless future type ideas.
Right, right. So, but the lore there, between 40K and fantasy with the old ones and all that kind of stuff, there are parallels between
Sure.
both universes. So they both go back quite a ways. The variation in all the races, every race is so rich with their lore. It was so flushed out over 30 years.
There's cultures
Um,
developed inside of these army books for Old
mhm,
World to a
yep,
level that, yeah, like I said, you can connect to it much more easy. Like I can't connect to a Space Marine culture, but I can think it's cool as hell.
right.
I can
And I
connect
think,
to like a High Elf book and like what their culture is. It's cool. Yeah.
mhm. Yeah, I mean, unit wise too. Like each book is fully fleshed out. Like you don't have a Caradron Overlord's army that has 6 units in it, right? You have lots and lots of units in every single army, enough to do whatever you want with the army, right? And there's lore behind each one of those, and there's also game utility behind each one of those as well. So in terms of what they're doing tactically and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, if you just look at the high elves, right? and you look at how far back everything goes and how the story arc goes with them. I mean, that's what I fell in love with. You talk about Dark Angels, right? The first thing I ever picked up was High Elves, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's the first lore I ever read, and it's so deep and rich. I tell people, and sometimes they kind of laugh at this, but like Warhammer was my comics.
Yeah.
Like the lore for Warhammer was like I didn't read comic books. I
But
read Warhammer.
you're buying White Dwarf. You're buying the books that you could
Yeah,
find at the time. 'Cause books
right.
weren't as prevalent as they are now.
Right. So that's what it was. Like these stories about Tyrion and Teclis and stuff like that. I mean, I just ate this shit up
Yep.
when I was a kid, 11 years old, just totally immersed in it. So
I remember like you, I was a high elf from the start. Loved them, had a great time. Was learning so much about them, reading all the lore and the stories. I'm like, man, these guys are just the best. Like they're doing all this stuff. Like they did and I forget who it was, but I was talking about like, oh man, they created the Great Vortex and like they saved the world and all that sort of stuff. Blah 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 blah.
mhm.
And someone just goes, well, actually, the Vortex formed because the Lizardmen they helped out. They've been around longer. And I was just like, I'd heard about the Lizardmen, but I didn't know their lore. And I was like, what do you mean they've been around longer? And it's this whole other layer. I was just
Mhm,
like,
mhm.
what? It's like a young
Yeah,
hobbyist, like how cool it was.
yeah.
Um,
I haven't even read some of that stuff.
yeah,
I mean,
there's so much. I legitimately, I don't know many people in the world that have probably read every Warhammer thing. It's probably near impossible at this point.
yeah, oh yeah, just not nowhere. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, just old world. Like, what's neat about it is there's a distinct feel about it, and the way that the art was presented for the old world
Mhm,
lore too, like in the battle tomes, like that, especially the humans, like that little over exaggerated old English. It's balancing, but it looks like it's about to topple over, but it's actually it could survive like this type of hit.
mhm.
Um,
There was some of the art from like fourth edition. If you go back and look at some of the chaos stuff, I'm going to send you some pictures when we get done with this podcast.
oh yeah.
It's concerning. It's terrifying.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really messed up art. Like whoever I don't know who the artist was, but some of that old stuff that you find in those old army books, it's more terrifying than anything they're doing today.
Oh yeah.
I
They
mean,
well
I don't know if they were just more able to take things farther back then,
well
but
being the 80s and early
mhm,
90s, yes, I think they could take it farther. And we're willing to. And also
mhm,
when something's more niche,
mhm.
the people
Yeah.
who are into it and they're like, I'm here for this. This is what I want. When you start
Mhm,
getting a bigger audience and you have to essentially appeal to a larger crowd of people, there's the guide rails come up a little bit more. So like and that's with anything.
yeah.
And that's just as it is. But um
Mhm.
heck, look at football. That new dynamic kickoff rule because like
Right.
the NFL's more popular than ever. So like let's make this more interesting. Like no, you made it worse. Just
Yeah.
that's corporations lately.
Oh my God. Don't get me started
Look
on that.
look
I
in
can talk for 2 hours on that just alone.
I'd say, yeah, if you're a corporation and you're thinking about making a change, don't. Especially if
Mhm.
it's to things like your main store page or your community site that you updated at the time of this recording. That is an awful version of your website.
Let me just talk about it for 1 second. 1 second, okay?
Okay.
There a long time ago, they didn't need protections for quarter. You know how you protected your quarterback?
Yeah.
You handed the ball off.
Yeah.
You didn't throw it so much. Now they're throwing it 60 times a game. The guys are getting brain injuries. They're like, oh well, we got to protect these quarterbacks. No, no, you don't actually. You just hand the ball off.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all I'm going to say about it.
No,
It
you're
makes
right.
me crazy. And now we have like there's going to be flags on these guys in the next couple of years. I promise you, that's where it's going. But
We're almost there. I know.
yeah,
I know.
oh my
It's
God,
yeah, and I'm like,
terrible.
I'm all for like, yeah, I don't want the football players to have brain injuries, and I get like some of them are wearing like the extra protection on their head. That's fine. Yeah, do it. Whatever makes you fine on that to help with that for sure. But yeah, it's oh.
Tough to watch right now.
It's a little tough. I'm enjoying Premier League a lot more because at least they own
Oh
their
yes.
flops.
Yes. Speaking of which, the crew lost the Campiones Cup last night. Not good.
Ooh, that's not good.
In PKs, 6 rounds of PKs, they lost.
Oh, okay.
Close though.
Okay. So, old world fantasy. What else? What makes it cool is there's a lot more heroes I feel to get attached to, and this could
Hmm.
just be like maybe because I was more of a fantasy player in 40k. Like there's 40k heroes, but there seems to be more individualized personality on the old world characters. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I know so much more about Tyrion and Teclis and their relationship with Finnebar the Phoenix King and Ilariel and and all these characters. I'm like, oh well,
Mm-hmm.
and, Tharion was best friends with Tyrion. That's why he went to go rescue his daughter during the end times, even though he knew it was suicide. Like, I know so
Mm-hmm.
much about that interpersonal relationship, compared to I know about most Space Marines. You know what I mean? Like, that's just personal. Like, I can't fathom the mind of a Space Marine fully. I know
Right.
Titus hates Leandros, so we could get into that, but that's a Space Marine 2 thing. But
Mm-hmm.
like, I don't know. I think the individualized characters have a lot more depth to them, a lot more realism, because they're not trying to be these deities above humanity where we are. It's them being, obviously like a high elf is different from a human from a dwarf, but it's them being essentially what feels like a slightly probably like one of the best versions of their respective culture and race,
Mm-hmm.
dealing with immense responsibilities. And like, Neil, if you were like the best mage in the world, how would you deal with that? Like, it's kind of
Mm-hmm.
interesting. Like, and you're like, would you spread the knowledge? I think that's kind of cool, and I think that's a fantasy thing
Yeah.
specifically, at least with old
Mm-hmm.
world fantasy. I haven't seen much of it in the way of old world. They're making new characters, but they're still at the early phases. They didn't have time to dive into the individual
Yeah.
characters deep yet, which is fine. I'm not.
Yeah.
Do that when you get there.
They're like in the comparatively they're in the AOS 0.5 days, right?
Yeah,
Comparatively to timeline wise, anyway.
yeah.
So
But all that to say is there's 30 years of lore and different places and the rise and fall of different cities
mhm.
and like like the gods actually walking the earth for a while, and all that then bleeds over into Age of Sigmar. Which what makes Age of Sigmar cool? The first thing we can both agree on what makes Age of Sigmar cool is 30 years of history. I know
Mhm.
everyone's just like, oh, Age of Sigmar's new. There's no like, no, it's all connected to the old world. They still make references. I still encourage. I want them to make more references.
Mhm.
Um, that's the first thing that makes Age of Sigmar cool. Is there's 30 years of old world history baked into almost every part of this game.
Mhm. It's and
As far as the lore
one of
wise.
the big things when AOS first came out, lore wise, was people were like, oh well, the lore is terrible. Well, there wasn't any.
Yeah,
It's just getting its legs, and at this point, what are we now? A decade?
yeah, we're
Almost a decade.
we're you're almost a
9 years,
decade, or at least
eight,
nine.
9 years, something like that. And there's so much that I think most people don't really know, even the lore back to when it first started. Like you'll like sometimes like I'll hear people who even other podcasters and stuff they'll talk about stuff and I'm like, no, that's not how it happened. Like
Yeah,
it was this, and I'm screaming into the
yeah, you're screaming
the
into the
car
void.
about this. Like, you guys are getting this wrong. You know,
You, yeah, and it's
it
like
wasn't that long ago.
we are essentially a third of the way for what we've been through with old world,
Hmm.
with Age of Sigmar, and Sigmar's fleshing out into be its own thing. It's still
Yeah,
tying back to the old world in its ways, but
yeah.
yeah, like the just I can't tell you how many people probably don't even understand that during the time it was a long time from the end times to the start of Age of Sigmar. Cultures
Hmm.
rose and fell, and Archeon was out destroying other planets in the name of the Chaos Gods.
Hmm.
He's the destroyer of worlds,
Right.
multiple. Like, he's
Hmm.
done a lot of cool stuff, and we know nothing about that.
Yep.
And we might never will. It'd be cool to get more references hinting back at stuff like that.
Hmm.
Like,
Hmm.
he's like, oh, I remember like these elves that they were made of stone that I destroyed on this planet. Like, he could just offhanded reference it, and we'd be like, what the hell is that? Can we have that? And it's like, absolutely
Hmm.
not. They're dead.
Yep. There's an early story where the Hammers of Sigmar are basically attacking a force that Archeon's leading. Vandus Hammerhand attacks Archeon like he goes to attack him, right, and he starts screaming X or Y, And like Archeon basically just like sighs. It's just like,
So tired of
here we
this.
go again. Like, like this guy has no idea what's about to hit him. Like it'd be like if I just started talking a bunch of junk to Mike Tyson, right? And because I was boxing for 2 weeks and I felt really good about myself. And
And you got enough
I go in there
pre-workout and you had some trends
get
shot
my
in.
head separated from my shoulders in one hit, which is basically what happens too.
Yeah.
So but yeah, that's a pretty early story that I don't know if a lot of people remember that kind of stuff.
I wonder if people even realize that Ilario has seasons. She's been in her war aspect, her war season for so long, but before that she was in a sorrowful. She was in her winter season. She's in summer right now, or spring, I suppose. Which means, okay, she was in winter, so she was depressed, and she was reborn with the blood of heroes thanks to the Stormcast Eternals planting her soul pod, because she goes into soul pods too. And the blood of heroes resurrected her into the war aspect, which was her spring form, for lack of a better term, which implies there's a summer form where she's more powerful. Like,
yeah,
how much do you like? That's huge.
Yeah, not only that, we haven't even got all the lore for all of the. We haven't even got all the races yet. We haven't even got Malarian. Malarian is spoken about in the very first book for AOS.
Yep.
There's a picture of him, right? And that's all we've gotten in 9 years.
Yeah. And Tyrion.
We've had hints here and there. That's it.
We know he's blended with his dragon Seraphon, which is hilarious because that name's taken now.
Right.
But yeah, like what's that look like? But also too, like we've heard other short stories about him, and he's like a shadow, like he's in a human form. So like what is he? Like he's a god, so he could probably do kind of whatever he wants in a weird way. But Tyrion's the same way. We know he's blind. Do people remember that he can see through Teclis's eyes? Probably not. I don't know if they'll mention it, but that's how that's one way he sees. But he's a blind swordsman now, for lack of a better term. I think that I have a strong. I hope. I mean, Tyrion will definitely be part of the tech list. That's gonna be Lumineth. I think they need to start pulling armies back together. I think there's too many.
I do too.
I kind of hope Malarian and Daughters of Cain, like that force gets pulled into one book. With the distinct personalities can be separate inside of it, but you allow more blending. It's a little bit more easy to control.
Yeah. It's to a point where we still need Malarian's army. We have to have that, right? But at a certain point, we need to stop, and we need to make sure that just like Old World, every book has lots of options, right? So if I want to play this army, then I have just a plethora of options to play that army. Now, there's just so many. There's so many in AOS that it's like, to do that, like you're almost cannibalizing your own sales a little bit, because there's
it's interesting thing too, where early Age of Sigmar too, like we heard about the Fire Slayers, like holy crap, what are these? Like, oh, they're dwarves, but they fight for evil too. Like this, and they kind of fixed that because everyone's just like, we don't like that. They're like, okay, we hear you. But early Age of Sigmar armies were okay. Take a cool aspect, Slayers. That's a cool aspect from the dwarf army. All right, what if we take those, crank it up to 11, make a whole army out of them? Early on, it was good. As time progresses, and it still feels like there's 5 units, which that might be generous. I don't know. And I'm talking about heroes. If you have
there's too many heroes
across most of the stuff.
Yeah.
To be fair, I think Daughters of Cain is the perfect example of where they did it right, which is like, okay, let's take the Cainite stuff, turn it up to 11, but give you plenty of options. That's been a successful version. Whereas a Fire Slayer,
they had a large line release though, right? When they did that whole preview, it was a large line release,
Yeah. But like that's what I'm saying. Like pull stuff back together. Like I honestly put the dwarves back together. Do it.
They did it with Daughters of Cain. You remember what they were before they actually, they came out with that amazing preview and Marathi and all that. Like they were just witch elves and a cauldron. That was the army. That was it. Maybe some sisters.
You had the hags. Yeah. That was it.
That was it.
Yeah, I was gonna run 3 cauldrons. Pretty much what I do now.
Yeah.
Without Kanare. Yeah, and I'm okay with stuff getting cut and being put back in your old world. I still wish those departments would get along.
Well, yeah. I just wish that it's fine that they cut Savage Orcs, right? But like put them back in Old World. I don't know why they didn't do that, but whatever.
Well, they are in Old World. It's just you just have to.
Right.
You give them talismanic tattoos. You can it does work there. It's more
Yeah.
open.
Yeah.
But yeah, Age of Sigmar is cool because it's had 10 years of building upon itself and it's working. And there's a cool lore and story threads going on right now, even with the Vermin
Hmm.
Doom
Hmm.
and the attachment of the old world stuff. Now, I would say this: if you are an Age of Sigmar person, you want to learn more about it. Old World's not the best. Old World as a game setting is not the best place to learn about why Age of Sigmar is the way it is. You need to look at 8th edition Warhammer Fantasy
Yeah.
in those books. That's where things happened that mattered, that went right into this. Um, but still, Old World's going to help build into that, which is really exciting. So
Yeah, and I'm liking that they're doing this whole like Scaventide thing now. It's an overarching large story that you can get behind and follow. Too many times they're doing these like Broken Realms and um, what's Dawnbringer's Crusade stuff. Where there's so many little stories in there that if you're not getting these books, you're not following this stuff. And
yeah,
then the other thing is like, do they matter?
it's
Right?
yeah. It
Like
I don't mind. Like it doesn't need to matter greatly.
it doesn't need to matter greatly, but it needs to matter to somebody somehow.
Yes, and I say too, like the set piece of uh Skaven, yeah, Blight, the Blight, Skaven Blight, yeah, Skaven Blight,
Mhm.
appearing inside actually and taking up half that continent. That's
Mhm.
really cool. But I don't like it was it I wanted it to be end times level cool, and I don't feel like it was. And I think it's because of lack of consequence.
Mhm.
Like
Yeah, yeah,
I don't know what was over there on actually. I could pull out the old book, but I didn't care to.
yeah. Some Dark Oath tribes.
Yeah. So
Oh well.
yeah, whatever. There's more. Um, and it's a big, huge event, and it matters. But I'm just like the thing too, like with the end of Dawnbringers when that happened, like I still haven't read through all the core book. I'm still gonna get through it, but like I don't know if in the core book if it talks about how all of the different factions are relating to the Skaven, the Vermin do.
Hmm.
Like, how do the Daughters of Cain and Har Quran, who just saw this happen, going, "Oh,
Right.
do we need to help here, or
Yeah.
can Hammerhall handle that?" Like,
Yeah.
or Lariel, is Lariel just like, "Oh hell no, we're gonna go plant some trees," or is she just like, "Not my realm, don't care."
Hmm.
Like tech lists like the Lumineth, they give a great shit about chaos corrupting the land.
Hmm.
And Teclis had to deal with lots of stuff in Broken Realms with the gosh. Is he just sitting there going, "Here we go again"? Or is he
Hmm.
going to be like, "I need Tyrion. I can't do this alone. Tyrion, you got to stop fighting Malekith. Like, shut up for
Hmm.
5 minutes. Like, come over here. We got to deal with this. Put this thing back in the ground." Like, that's what I want to know. And obviously, the first army book that came out for 4th edition has been the Skaven. Next one's going to be the Stormcast, which makes perfect sense. But I don't know if those are going to talk about, like, I know what the Stormcast are here to fight chaos
Hmm.
and protect humanity. But, like, I don't know. Like, what do the people in Hammerhall feel? Like, what are they, like, what's their daily lives like now where they can look out and see a giant Skaven city on their horizon? Like, do
Hmm.
they have peaceful days? Have they just, like, because, like, let's look humans. Neil, there's been a lot of shit that's happened in the past, let's say 6 to 8 years. Let's even call it 20 years of our lives.
Hmm.
Like,
Hmm.
um, and it's humans are very, and I've seen this joke before, and it rings true in a lot of ways. Is Satan's very upset because humanity has adapted to the apocalypse way too quickly, and they're making memes about it. Like, because that's what humans are adaptable. We adapt to situations even if they're horrendous. How have the
Hmm.
humans adapted to death on the horizon every single day? Like,
Right.
what forge is like, "Oh, I moved my forge over to that side of the city because they need more armors equipment, plus the glow of the city allows me to work late into the night." I'm like, is that good or is that not good? I don't know. Like, that's the
Hmm.
stuff I need to know about that I'm hoping that Sigmar will get to. But
Yeah.
that aside, the Vermin Doom is a very cool thing, but the lack of consequence and seeing what's happening with it so far is what makes it feel like it's not as impactful to me personally.
Right. Right. It's the whole thing where like because this is they're also selling models with these stories. It's just like somebody wins, but nobody really wins. a lot. So
Yeah,
like
well, yeah.
the thing is like they have the opportunity to do major things, right? Um, we'll get over it, kind of thing. I don't know.
If you're going to be able to cut, if you're cutting Stormcast line models, you can kill a random hero in a unit, like out of an army. No one should be upset.
Yeah,
All the
but
Magnum
why?
draw suddenly died, but
Right.
here's 12 new units for your Fire Slayers.
Hmm.
Like, okay,
And
cool, I
also,
guess.
and at the same time, give us some people to get behind. Some name characters that don't just die, like
Well,
it's Game of Thrones.
I
Like every major character that they started with, like AOS 1, I'm pretty sure like most of them are dead, like at this point, or something really bad has happened,
yeah,
right?
unless they're
So a
like the
lot of the
Immortals. Yeah.
like those early, yeah. So it's like I don't know. There's a couple
The
still running around, but
the most relatable character that I think for Sigmar right now is Godrek.
yeah, oh, 100%.
Yeah. Um,
Yeah.
I kind of agree with you. Like they have Callus and Toll. I'll be honest, I don't care about them. Some
No
people might, and that's fine. But like, you need to give me more than just
snippets where they show up for
yeah,
5 seconds.
yeah. Like and like they can't be everywhere. Like you made this place too big, which
Hmm.
is fine. But like if you look at the
Hmm.
Space Marines, that's why there's all those different chapters. Okay, Marnius Calgar is not going to be here all the time. He's going to be here. So okay, well let's have you know Azrael over here from Dark Angels deal with this one, and like he's the cool character from this that you can attach to over here. So then all of the people from that Dark Angel faction are focusing on that area more so than not. But people
Hmm.
know the names and the importance of it. Like, and the problem is too. I think there's a few of them here and there. Uh, like the hero level characters. Like if we look at 8th edition, there's lords and heroes.
Hmm.
Lords, Tyrion, Teclis, Ilariel. Heroes, Caradri and Corhill. They're cool. They're important, but they're just not as important. They're a little bit more
Hmm.
free. Teclis can't be everywhere, as much as he might
Hmm.
want to be. Neither
Hmm.
can Marathi. But like that's why I have Tayrathi. She can kind of go different places, and it's a little bit more freeing. I while it's cool that I can make my own character like that, I want there to be those characters in the universe too.
Hmm.
Like we just got Cthulhu. She's cool. Is she a little bit more free than Marathi to go do stuff? Potentially, because she's kind of against the cult, even though she's in the army. But those sub-level characters, I think, are vastly important for people to latch on to.
Hmm.
But
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It
but
needs
still,
to get.
that's and like I say that we're saying this because that's going to make this setting even cooler than what it already is. Because Age of Sigmar is pretty fucking cool.
Yeah, yeah. I think just like right now, I think the lore is just so all over the place that like it's got to get kind of reined in a little bit.
I
There's a lot of it, but it's like here and it's here and it's here and it's here. Like we need to
well,
pull this stuff together.
well, I mean, yeah, I think it will come because like if
Mhm.
early Age of Sigmar, we're like, what's going on? We need you to
Mhm.
solidify some stuff, and they have been over the past 10 years. They're not rushing it, which is perfectly fine. Um, Now I think we're going to probably get more and more focused because I know what the Age of Sigmar setting is now fully,
Right.
and
Right.
I can explain
Mhm.
it in a way that makes sense very reasonably to a lot of people,
Right.
just like I could for Old World, just like I can for 40K.
Yeah,
So I
we
have,
can go to the realm of shadow without you guys releasing an entire army guy. We can do that.
yeah,
We can go to the realm of
yeah.
shadow. You don't need to wait for the release 10 years from now. Like we could hear about it. It's fine.
I'll
So
I'll be honest. You know what my dream cool thing to happen in Sigmar still is
mm,
for a narrative piece that's going to be major, and also your release cycle being 3 years, needing you to have major events every 3 years. Please stop.
mm,
Um,
right.
you can
Hmm.
release an edition without a major set piece. I
Hmm.
promise you, we'll still buy it. Um, my big set piece that I want from Age of Sigmar in sometime in the future, I want to see what happens when two realms rejoin. Because they've had hints of that where like the realm gates controlled by Sigmar are tighter and easier controlled and non-Sigmar controlled ones, and it almost feels like it's pulling things back together. Because
Hmm.
that's what it is. Like it's recoalescing. But like, and I'm not talking like you could okay, sure, Shadow and Light they went together because they're so like no, give me like Akshi and I don't know, Shyish.
Hmm.
Have them through some mishap or evil plot or something, whatever. Just come crash like and like you can have it set up where like
Wait,
they start pulling towards each other and people start realizing like what's going to happen and then they crash into each other. How does that look? How does it meld? Does it
how
ruin
cool is
everything?
it? How cool would it be it all crashes back together and reforms exactly back into the old world like it used to be. Like it's the same thing. It blew apart and then it just recoalesces back into the same thing.
That's
And
what's
that's like
hinted
ebb
at.
and flow.
That's
Yeah.
what's hinted at by the Stormcast when they say that the realm gates help pull things back together. That's kind of
Mhm.
like the hint of it, I suppose. It doesn't need to be that for me.
Mhm.
I think it does need to pull together and explode because I think that's the cycle. Because the elves talk about
Right.
the cycle. This has all happened before.
Yeah, and it doesn't need to be exactly that, but it
Right.
would be like, whoa.
Right. And I would even be cool if it's just like they start pulling back together, and Teclis and Malarian are like, no, we can't do this yet. Like we haven't beat chaos. We can destroy chaos now before it reforms or blah blah blah. Like whatever, make up that cool narrative. So they try and stop it, so only two of the realms go together, so we get to see what it looks like. What type of cataclysm is that? Is it a
Yeah.
cataclysm, or is it just merges together and it's just like weird in it, but it works, and it's just like, what is like? Oh, that'd be so cool. And it's impactful to people, but it's not the big bad coming together. It's just something that happens.
Yeah.
Like to be honest too, like in Sigmar, I'm not scared of any other faction. I'm a Daughter's Game player. I'm not scared of any other faction. I would be scared at a force of nature, even if the realms were coming together because they felt like it. Like something that like no one can control would be cool. Will be the scarier part of Sigmar, I think, at this point. Like the forces of nature.
Oh yeah, I think that would be awesome.
Yeah,
because like right now, you look at oh geez, heavens, right, where Sigmar is, and it's just not touched, right?
Yeah.
But old world, right? The empire is beset on all sides, right? And technically, the realm of the heavens is beset on all sides, right? But it's not in it. There's nobody's storming the castle in there. Like I would love to see them have to get their hands dirty a little bit.
Yeah. What if magic chains went up there and pulled it back down, and it's no longer
right?
That's
what, boys? Now you're playing too,
right? And here's the cool thing about that to end on like another cool note. It's cool because the setting is set up in such a way that that's feasible. And us saying this isn't, well, it's just us blindly saying what we think would be neat to happen, we want to see happen. Doesn't mean that might happen one day. It might not. Something else that might happen to be cool, but like we can talk about this and then we could flesh out and we could write a campaign. What would it look like if Akshi and Shyish recombined, even a small section? Okay, well, what would the models look like? How would we do like fire and death? Neat, let's make that happen. Like it's
yeah.
And then all of a sudden we're doing our own thing within this setting that everyone's gonna be like, that's really cool. So the freedom of Warhammer is what makes it cool.
Yeah, absolutely. And that is one of the strengths of Age of Sigmar, by the way, too, is just how free it is.
Yeah. Like I said, just round those corners out a little bit more, which I think is happening, and we'll be chef's kiss. Be on
You
our
got
way.
it.
All right. Well, I hope everyone's out there thinks Warhammer is cool. If you don't think it's cool, I don't know why you sat through this, but I appreciate you. Like and subscribe. If you are, tell us what you guys think in the comments of what is cool. Just do it. Tell us what's cool. Anything.
What's your favorite part of the hobby? Right?
Favorite part of Warhammer, favorite lore, favorite model. Tell us. And until next week, Neil, anything to say?
No. See you next week. Hopefully I'll have mowed my lawn by then.
Me too. All right. Stay Stormcast strong and happy hobbying, everybody.